food addictions and food cravings is an extremely complex subject that lives not only in your kitchen, not on your table or in the fridge, but it relates to the entire way of living. Because I saw that people with those advanced degrees, with extensive experience in very difficult industry, people whose brain is constantly stimulated with solving extremely complex problems that require a lot of logic, that require a lot of reasoning and actual creativity, they still cease to perceive the world as a whole. So they have this fragmented thinking. And this I also saw in the scientific community as well. People can be specialists and very, very narrow scope and where they got their degree, but they forget to pay attention to the integral world around them, the integral nature, and that the human is in essence a self-aware reflection, this concentration of the living nature around us, who lives in a symbiotic relationship with all other living nature elements. So they forget to think about it, to pay attention to that. And what happens, my theory is that they initially, multi-generationally pass down the traditions of unhealthy eating. And food becomes worse and worse. Like the food that comes to an average American table becomes worse and worse with every year because it becomes more and more processed, more and more stuff like gets thrown into it, more and more chemistry, water is polluted, air is polluted, electromagnetic smog is everywhere. So people eat those isolates of like proteins, isolates of sugars, alcohol, coffee, all those stimulants that keep them to maintain a healthy regulation of sleep and alertness hormones, affects their sexual hormones, affects their like stress levels. So all of those things are messed up because people just dump all this unnatural food. And what happens if you were the body? You do something unnatural, you just consume something. In wild nature, even omnivorous animals, they still have certain narrow scope of foods that they eat when they have abundance of those resources. And so whenever they have either parasitic infestations or they have extreme scarcity of resources, they start eating some foods that they still can digest but that are not characteristic for their diet. So what humans do, they predominantly eat foods being like omnivores in terms of that they are able to break down a lot of things. Humans have very resourceful bodies. They start eating foods that are not characteristic for their optimal functioning, like their prime functioning. And those compromised foods that, again, animals would be able to eat like once, twice in living nature and then go back to eating their normal ways. Or again, diseased animals would eat certain non-characteristic. Animals with parasites would eat something uncharacteristic. Humans do this all the time voluntarily. And what it tells to the body, it tells that you are in the state of survival. So many people, what I noticed, why I brought up the people that I worked with, is because I saw that people live in the state of survival, not understanding that. And just because of what dietary choices they make. Because we cannot rip ourselves off nature and live independently. Human needs to be rooted in nature in order to be able to thrive as a human. If we rip off, if we try to remove the boundaries, the frames or the cage of being in the framework of nature, we just lose our freedom to be human. We just lose the freedom to function at our optimum. So human body thinks that, okay, it's survival. It's a perpetual survival. So human brain starts finding the proofs of that in the external world. So human gets hooked up to the TV, and actually many intelligent people of science, people of advanced professions, they plug into the TV and they just allow this information that supports their idea, the notion of survival, into their head 24/7, whenever they're not occupied with solving their immediate problems. They work for survival. They consume information that tells them, yes, you're in survival. It could be worse. Things can collapse. There are not enough resources. The world is very scarce. There is overpopulation. There is this and that. And go inject yourself with more and more shit. And average human lives on that because their body tells them that it proves, mutually proves what they see on the outside, what they get from the media, and what their body wants to see. So this is an unhealthy relationship that people generate by eating wrong food. If people transition to eating what nature intended, then they are faced with the necessity to actually pay attention to the big world that suddenly opens up. This world where there is abundance, where they realize that yes, we indeed are designed to live in bliss. We're designed to live in euphoria, because imagine a human's mind is a unique feature that in essence a self-awareness of nature. And now imagine how complex, beautiful, and perfectly balanced nature is. And we, the humans, have the body and mental capacity to be self-aware nature. It's an ultimate belonging, ultimate sense of belonging to this world. It's an ultimate feeling of living in halcyon. It's almost like eternal, blissful, orgasmic existence. It's insanely beautiful. And people refuse to acknowledge that that's a possibility. They think that life is a struggle, life is a suffering. A lot of the spiritual teachings also kind of promote this idea, perpetuate it over and over, which is false, because the meaning of life is not in some afterlife. If you are designed, if you're brought to this earth in this body, in this embodiment, with these functions, and you at least allow yourself the idea that you can function perfectly, that you can function at higher level, you will understand that achieving almost like paradise is a very easy thing. We're designed to live and indulge in the creation that exists around us and within us. That's what I stand for, and I think it's pretty reasonable. But regardless, food addictions come as some salvation for people. Because if you live in survival, you need at least some justification for that. You need at least some moments of some joy. So people start finding alcohol, they start finding all this caffeine, little guilty rituals. They start eating refined sugars because it gives them quick high, and just to get at least a glimpse of something better than they see around themselves and within themselves. Do something, but no, life doesn't change globally. You still get just a glimpse of goodness, and you don't unlock your inner creativity, you don't unlock the power of your mind, you don't unlock the feeling of the ultimate inner freedom through that. You get more and more dependent, you destroy your bodies eventually. So food addictions, yeah, they play an important role in the human, the survivor. And overcoming those then requires to do several things. First of all, if you decided to adopt a better lifestyle, let's say if you want to transition to raw vegan diet in particular, because that's what I can speak about. The first thing that I would suggest you to do on a very physical level is like in chess, when you think a couple of steps ahead. When you already know, let's say, the effects that you get after eating a bar of chocolate, and you get the effects of eating a bowl of fruits or some beautiful tasty salad, focus on the after sensations, on the aftermath of that. And think about it, or even if you forgot about how chocolate aftertaste, aftermath sensations feel, you can get several chocolate bars and eat, and then you can stomach. And remember the sour feeling in your mouth afterwards. Remember that cloying sensation that makes you want to eat like a jar of pickles, drink a bunch of water or a bunch of coffee or tea, something bitter, to just conceal that sweetness. Remember how oily and inflamed your skin becomes afterwards. Remember all those surprises afterwards. Remember how you might get like headache from that. How your teeth feel sensitive after that chocolate. Remember all the side effects of consuming chocolate, short-term and relatively long-term. Focus on those. Don't focus on the initial quick sensation of chocolate, because chocolate slice will melt in your mouth relatively quickly. And those side effects will start creeping up. So you will start losing satisfaction from eating chocolate, and you will start generating regret because of all those bad sensations afterwards. And at the same time, when you're eating something healthy, something like, again, wholesome salad, something like a bowl of fruits, feel how they hydrate you, feel how they give you vitamins. Just be aware, you can even read online what each fruit, what each vegetable that you're eating does for your body. That's actually a very cool thing when you get educated about macronutrients, about micronutrients of those foods, about all these enzymes, about what role some bioflavonoids play in your body. When you start learning about that, focus on those aspects. Feel, perceived, and some rational benefits of eating those foods. Focus on the second step. Don't focus on the first step. Focus on the second step. And of course, with like raw foods, you probably will like the taste. I will be making video how to make yourself appreciate certain foods right away without some aversion. But focus on everything that you like about what you're eating, and think about what good things it does for you. Focus on that thing as well. And with something that you want to quit, something bad, focus on those side effects from it. So this will be the first method. Anytime you eat, just a reflex. If I eat this, I will feel this and this and this, and just meditate on those sensations. It will really help you to quit on those things really quickly. Then, of course, another tip is that have someone around you that would hold your hand when you try to get something and eat it. Something that you're not supposed to, something you decided you don't want to consume anymore. This is a very helpful tool. Of course, for that, you need very healthy relationships with those people, with that person. You need to trust them. It must not be some like unhealthy thing where they either aggressively prohibit you to do something, or they exert their will on you. For example, they prohibit you to do something that you would like to do. This must only be an assistance for something that you expressed your will to do or to be helped with. So it must be some person who you trust, and you trust their intentions regarding your self-development and growth. They will be very, very good help, assistance for you to quit on the cravings. And then another thing is that, of course, you need to find alternatives as quickly as possible to things that you crave. And here you can prepare, again, if it's chocolate, you just prepare a healthier version of chocolate. By healthier, I mean without refined sugar. You can either get cocoa butter and cocoa powder and make your own chocolate with some, let's say, chopped apricots or dates, something like that. Or as simple as mix cocoa powder in coconut oil when it's liquid. Mix it up, add some seeds, add some, again, chopped fruit, and freeze it or put it in the fridge and eat that. So all of those things, you have such a plethora of foods that are sweet on raw vegan diet. And you can really play around with a bunch of things. So just read a lot about what you can substitute your cravings with, because there are recipes for virtually anything. And another tip is that if you feel like you crave something from your past life, just eat a good meal. Eat good raw vegan meal that you know is healthy and filled with nutrients. Because you know how we crave those cravings. There are whole tables what each craving means. If you crave salt, it means you need this. If you crave some umami flavor, you need this. If you crave sugar, you need this. If you crave specifically chocolate, you need this. So if you eat the food that is filled with micronutrients, whenever you have a craving, it's severe, almost 99.999% you will not want what you craved in the first place. You will just satisfy your body's needs. Because what happens is many people remain hungry on conventional diets, on highly processed, on refined diets, because they don't get micronutrients. A lot of on the surface dietary sciences or quasi-sciences, they focus on hitting macros and certain like selected vitamins. They don't care about the quality of those macronutrients. They don't care about in what form proteins are bound in the food that person is eating. They don't care about what transformation fiber undergoes upon certain treatments. They don't care in which form sugars come into the body. So some people just fail to care about those things. Then also, in which form the minerals are presented in the food, in which form vitamins are presented in the foods, what interferences or otherwise symbiotic relationships, synergy between vitamins and minerals can exist. So whole foods, non-processed, unprocessed foods, in their raw form, they provide such a richness of vitamins and minerals that go into your body in their unaltered, as nature designed form, that you will be no longer hungry. Because again, hunger comes from your body. Okay, we received calories, we did not receive the nutrients. People tend to overeat. That's why after a huge bowl of pasta, you are ready for a dessert. You're ready for something else just to polish it up. But after raw food, you're not hungry. Your body's like, okay, we got some calories, we got all the micronutrients, so go run. You feel light and you're ready to go. So that's why I highly recommend you to have some handy recipes that are very wholesome. Let's say you make salad with kale, with bok choy, with dandelion greens, with loads of parsley. Actually, aromatic herbs is another tip for you. Use a lot of parsley, use a lot of dill, use a lot of cilantro if you like cilantro. Use garlic, use onion, all those aromatic components for making your salad. So put all of those, put bell peppers, put some fresh tomatoes if you are not against nightshades. Then put maybe some root vegetables such as celery roots, such as turnips, such as radishes. Put that in your salad. Then put pumpkin seeds, put sesame seeds, sprinkle it all up with some namashoyu sauce, with apple cider vinegar. Add, I don't know, some dried, cranberries on top, or raisins, whatever you like. People have such different cravings and food combinations that they align with that it's hard to predict. So do that, and you will notice that those meals are so satiating, they're so nourishing, that you just forget about your food cravings. So that's my last tip on how to overcome the cravings. Last dietary tip. There is, again, if we return back to the psychological loop of maintaining yourself in this survival state, in this bad psychological shape of completely dampened sense of self-power, of self-recognition as evolutionary element, as just a spark of nature's self-awareness on Earth. If you forget about that, you need to regain this understanding and start thinking about it as soon as possible. Because through this understanding, through this knowledge, through the inner confidence, and I actually like the term cellular confidence, maybe we'll discuss it in some other video, you will start unlocking pleasures outside of the food realm. And a lot of people, yes, they do compulsive things because they just cannot find proper ways of spending their energy for. And especially on raw diet, you will have so much energy, you will absolutely eventually you will face the need to go and start doing something extra. You will need to find the way where you will become a superconductor, where you just have unrestricted flow of energy, where you can just go charge up someone with your creativity, with whatever you can make, whatever fruits of your mind and soul you can output from yourself. So you need to start right away to uncover things that you sincerely desire to do. Things that you would do without being paid for. Just don't think about all these worldly things altogether. Because when you start focusing on all those things and make them, again, your primary thought in your head, that's another symptom of you sitting in the survival mode. And you want to escape that. Because survival mode will never lead you to this, again, superconducting mode, where you become this ultimate yourself. So you need to sit and think very clearly. Clearly, I mean, not through the prism of what your mom said, what your dad said, what your grandma hoped for you, what society hopes for you. You need to sit and think sincerely with yourself what you would want to do. And it's better if you write it down, because writing might unlock certain mechanism of your brain functioning, or maybe even with left hand, with the opposite hand that you have dexterity for. Try writing down anything that comes to your mind. Do this subconscious brainstorming practice, and find this thing. And this will help you to fill in some gaps that you try to compensate with dirty food cravings, food addictions. So that's another tip. And if we go now, the last chapter of this video is, what if we look at the particular examples of cravings? One of the common things, the numbing agents of humans is, of course, alcohol. I heard this interesting thing that actually low-rank monkeys eat fermented berries or fruits that contain alcohol due to fermentation. And those low-ranking monkeys, having alcohol allows them to behave like alpha males. So they suddenly start exhibiting the traits of those alpha males. And it becomes really interesting if we recall what people do when they drink. For many people, alcohol is a portal into the world of being themselves. It's a very, very sad thing. When people are, like, for example, sad, they talk about something, talk about their daily life, and then all of a sudden, but then we're drinking, and you see how their eyes just start glowing, and you see that they entered some space in which they felt like, oh, my inner child finally was able to come through the boundaries. I'm allowed to play. I'm allowed to be playful in this life. I'm allowed to like enjoy life without all those social boundaries. So you feel that transition, and it saddens me every time that people need to go through alcohol. So understand that. That's the first thing. Alcohol is actually a very powerful toxin. It affects all systems in the body, partially owing to its specifics that it can penetrate water-based systems and lipid membranes because it dissolves fats. So alcohol penetrates everywhere, and it actually even affects the eggs that are stored in women's ovaries. So be very mindful, especially if you don't have children, if you're a woman. Think that every sip of alcohol puts your children at risk. So you have responsibility for the future generation every time you drink alcohol. And it can cause very serious mutations. And if that egg is fertilized, then you signed up for a very big trouble. So I regret that I ever drank alcohol so much. If you only knew. That's probably my only regret in life, that I had alcohol in my life, because it was my conscious choice to do so. So alcohol is one of the things that people use abundantly, and that gives them that opens up the door to the world that they would wish to live, that they have natural aspiration, natural inclination to live in. Then coffee is another huge thing that people are hooked on. For coffee craving people, for alcohol again, for alcohol I would advise you to just feel that you don't need it first, and then everything will come to you. Alcohol has a lot of course, social pressure associated with it. So you need to be very firm in what you believe in order to escape that. Because people will be pressing you. You will have a lot of psychological challenges on the way of quitting alcohol. But if you miss the ritualism of alcohol, start with pomegranate juice, start with grape juice. If you have wine glasses, if you like to serve something for dinner, pour that red juice in wine glass and enjoy. Make some smoothie, make some cocktail, something beautiful. There are so many possibilities for beautifully served drinks or smoothies to just compensate for the ritual of consuming wine. So do that, and believe me, in a good company, if you get high from the conversation, if you get high from the people that are around you, you will get the same high from anything that you drink around those people. Then coffee drinkers, start slow, go to decaf. Some brands have very good decaffeinated coffee. Make espressos. Also to sublimate those rituals at first. To just get rid of the caffeine addiction, you can use decaffeinated shots, which will trick your brain into thinking that, oh, it's the same coffee. But you won't get the biochemical effect of that. So that will be your first step. And then later you just move to the tea, drink tea ceremonies, and then you just transition to drinking water, maybe fresh juice once in a while, something invigorating as well, because all those green juices, they are very invigorating and energizing as well, especially if you had something like spirulina or chlorella to them. Then for those who crave refined sugars, I really encourage you to try non-refined sugars. There are so many fruits such as dates, dried apricots, prunes that you can use to make super delectable desserts. You can even make, again, banana candy. You just cut bananas into slices, dip them in coconut oil with chocolate or cocoa powder in it. You dip it and freeze it. Makes super beautiful candy. Or pineapple slices or any berries that you like with chocolate. So make that. Just have it always have dates in hand, because sometimes you get hungry and you have this vending machine with some granola bars and you don't want that. Because again, it's very easy to slip back into habitual patterns. So have some dates on hand. And those are the perfect thing. Non-refined sugar, rich with some nutrients, not as rich as the green foods, but still much better than eating refined sugar. And as fulfilling as refined sugar, even more, because they're kind of slow release sugars. Then with refined sugars, yes, just learn making cool desserts. That's the thing that you need to adopt. Then pasta and bread. Pasta and bread are thing about pasta. You can make zucchini pasta. You just buy a spiralizer and make that. Other than that, I don't know what else to recommend. Just mimic all those flavorful sauces and substitute the meals. Because again, when you're full, when you're satiated, when you're nourished, you don't crave refined foods anymore. High-calorie refined foods. Then, about calories. If you are not doing enough calories, of course, you might feel hungry, especially initially. So for that, eat, for example, that raw vegan pasta made of zucchini with some raw marinara sauce, but then polish it up with some nuts, for instance. For bread substitutes, if you like bread with like toast with avocado, make some crackers. Again, just use dehydrator, make crackers, or there's also a brand which is actually they have very, very fulfilling crackers made of kale. They're air dried, that mimic bread flavor a lot, because bread holds this umami flavor. It's Brad's brand. They have flat like squares made of kale and carrot and with different like grains. Not grains, seeds. So get those if you are somewhere on the go. So you can make vegetable chips that will substitute for bread. Another thing for all those wheat products is of course seaweed. Get nori sheets. What I will give you an advice. There are roasted nori sheets at the stores. You know, they have different flavors, like with salt and vinegar, with sesame, with oil. What you can do, you can buy unroasted nori sheets. They're sold on Amazon or iHerb or at Whole Foods. And if you have a spray bottle, grab the sheets. If you can hang them somewhere, they'll look very goofy, but I think it's a cool idea. I sometimes just dip nori sheets in some sauces, but I feel like making your own chips to go, again, to avoid the outer world temptations, because you will be blasted with things that are designed by marketologists that know consumers' habits and consumer psychology. You need to be resistant and strong against that. You need to have something on hand at all times in the beginning, while you're building your microbiome that will be invincible for all those things. You can hang those nori sheets on some wire and spray them with a mixture of apple cider vinegar and a shoyu sauce, garlic, and let's say some spicy pepper. Spray those sheets and let them air dry. And then you can cut those things into those chips, squares, and bring them to you to work or wherever you're going. Those will also help with bread craving in some sense, because they have that flavor, that special thing going on with them. So that's another tip. If you crave glutinous, umami-rich foods, what other cravings do we commonly have? We so far discussed coffee, alcohol, sugar, and bread and pasta. List below what other cravings you have, because I don't know, like meat, for example. Okay, meat. With meat, you need to make sure that you're getting enough amino acids in your diet. Amino acids and fats. So the perfect food for that is hemp. Just get into habit of eating hemp. I strongly advise for that. Hemp has an immense benefit as compared to meat, because meat leaches minerals out of your system. Yes, it supplies you all amino acids at once, so does hemp. But hemp has a benefit that it supplies you with minerals that are essential and that are actually essential for producing proteins, because you know that you consume food, then your stomach acid, the pepsin, then later breaks down complex proteins, long protein chains, into the amino acids, and then those amino acids, they get delivered into the cells where ribosomes synthesize proteins that your body needs, that they're like body signals that it needs at the moment. So that's how the protein synthesis works. And for that, you need assistance of certain specific minerals. It's a complex process, very sacred and complex process. So you actually need certain substances that are naturally present in plant foods, and actually plant foods are a much better source of protein, particularly because of that reason, because they supply you building blocks and they supply you all the reagents necessary for making use of those building blocks. So hemp seeds are one of the candidates, and the other candidate is, of course, sprouted lentils. Sprouted lentils will also be a huge thing in your diet, and they are very fulfilling as well. So you will be easily accessing all the essential amino acids in sufficient amounts if you include just 2 of those foods in your diet. So this is for those who craves meat. Another, by the way of to approach the meat craving, another perspective. Here I'm talking if you just crave like plain boiled meat, let's say. If you crave certain meat dish, then you spice it. For example, you can add smoked paprika to your food. You can add different herbs. You can make mixtures with nuts and seeds that will have a lot of protein potency, and then at the same time they will have some fulfilling flavors. You can add nutritional yeast and smoked paprika to certain dishes to kind of mimic that flavor. So those are my tips, my practical tips for how to overcome the food addictions, and I really wish that you succeed in this path, because again, the things that get unlocked when you're past the stage when you need to still fight for your well-being, when your well-being starts to fight for your actions at that point. So you will soon develop assistance from your body to do all those things. You will be doing things that your body tells you, I love that, give me more of that. It's a very short-term period in which you need to actually use some tricks, you need to use some willpower, you need to possibly use some external assistance. I really wish you can go through that and then just smoothly sail towards the most optimized version of yourself. Because again, remember that we run on pleasure, but there are two types of hedonism. One type of hedonism is destructive, in which throughout your life that is given for you for personal evolution and self-realization, you're going in a descending slope. You get certain things that eat up your body resources, your mind resources, your time resources, but give you very strong high. Then you drop down. Now you have less body resources, you have less time resources, have less energy, you're down. You're recovering from that. Then when you build just a little bit of those resources that eventually get depleted more and more, you go for another high because you don't want to live in this below zero, below average state. You pursue those highs over and over and over and over, but then you just come to the breaking point. So these are destructive hedonism habits, which include, of course, smoking alcohol, smoking anything, that include, I don't know, very lazy lifestyle, which include which include all this self-betrayal things, basically. And then constructive hedonism is when you go on ascending slope, when you get pleasure from things that you are intended by nature to get pleasure from, which are nourishing foods, which are creative realization, which are fulfillment from taking cows and assembling something whole from that cows. So you'll get pleasure from those things, and they build up. They build up your soul, they build up your mind, they build up your body. You don't crush low. You might still recover, replenish some energy from what you exerted towards like doing some creative things. But you move up and up and up, and that's how your personal evolution proceeds. You get higher and higher pleasure. You get higher and higher achievements. You get pleasure from more complex, yet more natural things, as compared to refined, simplified, linear things. You get those spikes, those hiccups that end up in less and less fulfillment. Because unnatural desires we can never fulfill. We will never be fulfilled on something that's unnatural for us. Yet we can be eternally fulfilled and never feel desires anymore when we are on the path of undisturbed, unimpeded, superconducting path of self-realization, of mission, of doing things that nature intended for us. They all go together, hand in hand. A lot of great people actually preached this throughout the history. And I believe that it might be true. I can't say that categorically because I'm only 28 years old and I feel like I'm only on this path. So I cannot say in retrospective how it was. So I just can speculate and make conclusions, draw conclusions based on the data that I have harvested, gathered so far. I know how it's not supposed to be. And I have solid evidence for how it's supposed to be. I have some proof, but I want to prove it more and more. So let's just give this approach a chance altogether, because collectively we can make a huge impact if we approach life from this perspective. And the world will be getting more and more beautiful. The world is human, man-made ecosystem, needs very deep cleansing. This man-made ecosystem needs very strong revisiting and reformation. Not even reformation, but huge revolution in how we view things and how we approach things. I went probably too deep, but this subject really requires a lot of attention and a lot of words. So please leave your comments below and questions, and I'm really happy to chat with you. If you are the shy one, you can send me emails through the website, Raw Form of Life, or through the contact form, and we can discuss certain things. And if you're interested, for example, in making a stream in which we can do some interview or dialogue, also shoot me a message and we can plan for that, because I personally really feel like connecting with like-minded people. I really feel like meeting those who can understand all those things the same way or better as I do. So for me, it would be really important to find people who are like-minded. And I would be really happy to chat and perhaps put something on YouTube, some conversation, such that people can see multiple perspectives of things, or reinforcement of one perspective by just two minds being in resonance. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, hit like, and share the video with your friends for whom you think this video will be valuable.